With ground skirmishes along the border increasing, U.S. planes shoot up an Iraqi tank column. Iraq says a captured pilot was killed in the bombing of Baghdad. And Allied planes fly 2,600 missions in the last 24 hours. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting tonight with a special war summary edition. Good evening. Iraq said today one of its human shield captives has been killed. It said he died when Allied bombs hit a government building in Baghdad. The prisoner was not identified. U.S. officials said they could not confirm the death. But President Bush had his spokesman condemn Iraq's treatment of prisoners, and the State Department called in Iraq's top diplomat in Washington to raise concern about POWs, as well as 4 CBS newsmen missing presumably in Kuwait. At the Pentagon, U.S. military officials tonight talked up the largest hit yet on Iraqi ground forces. Allied airstrikes are said to have wiped out a troop and tank convoy. David Martin has more about this. David?
Dan, the standoff along the border intensified today as Iraqi units apparently tried to retaliate for the continuous bombing and artillery fire they've been under. Officials here have received a preliminary report, not yet confirmed, that one Iraqi unit actually crossed into Saudi Arabia and was engaged by U.S. Marines. A press pool reports that Allied warplanes caught an Iraqi convoy moving across the desert under cover of darkness and destroyed 24 tanks, armored personnel carriers, and supply vehicles. Over the last 24 hours, the Allies flew 2,600 missions, one of the busiest days in the air since the war began. Many of those strikes were against Republican Guards positions in northern Kuwait. The Secretary of Defense believes these strikes are working.
There is evidence of significant damage, a large number of secondary explosions, for example, at ammunition dumps that support Guard divisions.
We had 2 types of ordnance on our flight today, so some people were getting rid of the personnel and other people were making hard kills on the tanks with heavier bombs.
Slowly but surely, the Iraqi army in Kuwait is being cut off.
The ability of the Iraqis to reinforce that part of their armed forces has been severely degraded by our attacks on his main supply routes, the bridges, the roads, the highways.
British tornadoes are reporting success in knocking out Iraqi fuel dumps.
There were some quite spectacular explosions after the aeroplanes went in. So there's every evidence and every hope that this systematic destruction is going extremely well.
American pilots hit an oil refinery.
Good weather today facilitated our acquiring the targets, obviously, and the weapons worked perfectly. Had no problem finding the target, and ordnance worked exactly as advertised.
While Allied planes pound their targets, Iraq's Air Force continues to flee to airfields in Iran.
There were some more en route this morning. 90 was the best number I had as of about 10 o'clock.
Secretary Cheney thinks the pilots are acting on orders from Saddam.
I think that it's a major sign of weakness in the Iraqi position. I think my guess is that he's trying to protect the aircraft by getting them out of harm's way.
According to Cheney's analysis, Saddam is trying to save his Air Force for when the war is over. If that's correct, then it offers at least the hope that he may also try to save his army before it too is destroyed, either by Allied bombing or by a ground offensive. Dan?
David Martin, thanks. Refugees fleeing Iraq today told of widespread death and destruction from U.S. bombing raids. Iraq said one of the pilots it captured was killed in a raid on Baghdad. Correspondent Richard Threlkeld in Jordan has our report.
How were you shot down? I don't know.
There are 7 Americans among the dozen or so Allied pilots Iraq has shot down and captured, and Saddam Hussein has been using them as pawns, imprisoning them in strategic locations in hopes it will deter further Allied bombing. Today, Baghdad radio claimed one of the Allied prisoners, not identified, was killed during last night's bombing of Baghdad when a bomb hit the Ministry of Industry offices where he was being held. Baghdad radio said the Allies have only themselves to blame. How do we know it's true? We don't. It could be just some cheap Iraqi propaganda trick. But Saddam has said he's placed Allied prisoners around his most important targets. And so far in this war, in matters of this sort, Saddam's word has been depressingly dependable. His threats have not stopped the bombing, of course, and these are the latest pictures Iraqi censors have released, which they say show the damage in Iraq's second largest city, Basra. It was destroyed in the war with Iran, rebuilt, and now it appears to have been heavily damaged. The bomb craters, similar to those left by American B-52 bombers that cratered the landscape of Vietnam a generation ago. Only a fortunate few refugees are being allowed to leave all this and cross the border to Jordan. The road from Baghdad is so badly bombed now, these people may be some of the last who can leave. It's cold and raw, and they have been without food and water and shelter for days. But they are out now, and finally, they are free. Richard Threlkeld, CBS News, Amman.
A Navy medic has received the first Purple Heart of Operation Desert Storm. 19-year-old Navy Corpsman Clarence Connor was hit by shrapnel when a U.S. Marine patrol came under artillery fire near the Kuwaiti border. He was the first casualty among U.S. ground troops. President Bush was said to be angered today by Iraqi claims that one Allied POW had been killed and others injured while being used as human shields during Allied bombing runs. This came as the president prepared to deliver his State of the Union message tonight, dwelling heavily on the war. White House correspondent Wyatt Andrews has a report. Wyatt?
Dan, they call this the State of the Union address, but perhaps as a reflection of how the president really spends his time these days, at least half of the speech tonight, aides say, will concern the state of the war.
The president spent much of today tending the politics of the war. He said thanks to the Dutch for sending Patriot missiles to defend Turkey, and heaped praise on Egypt's foreign minister for resisting internal pressures to quit the alliance.
And it's been a miraculous, strong, wonderful leadership coming out of Egypt, and we are very grateful.
Saddam Hussein's interview with CNN, in which he threatened the use of nuclear and chemical weapons, bolsters one of the themes the president will push tonight, that the United States is morally right to wage this war. Spokesman Marlon Fitzwater said the interview demonstrates the amoral nature of Saddam's efforts in this war. He brags about the prospect of using weapons of mass destruction. The president will also repeat that the U.S. intends to win the war, a reflection of the scornful U.S. reaction to Saddam's confident prediction there's not a 1 in a million chance Iraq will lose.
I wonder if that's what you read as sort of boastful fear, or is he proving more resilient than the U.S. thought?
I would read that as whistling past the graveyard.
The administration's intense focus on the war and seeming lack of focus on domestic problems is reflected in the public's view of how Mr. Bush is handling his job. In a new CBS News poll, an overwhelming majority approve of the president's overall job performance, 79%, and his handling of the war, 78%. But when asked about how he's handling the economy, only 43% approve.
The president in tonight's speech, aides say, will deal with the economy. He'll be insisting that the United States can grow out of this recession and offering what's described here as a scattering of new domestic ideas. However, domestic internal politics and political bickering return tonight. The Democrats will charge that the president has misplaced his priorities and needs to be as aggressive in confronting the nation's economic problems as he's been in confronting Iraq. Dan?
Wyatt Andrews. To try to sort out the mystery behind dozens of Iraq's best combat jets being flown into Iran and what might happen to them there, we've invited Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, Kamal Karazi, to join us here this evening. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
First, what is the situation on these aircraft? Has this compromised Iran's stated neutrality?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yes, these airplanes are seized, and they will be seized until the war is over. I don't think that this letting the aircrafts who have declared emergency landing after our interception would do anything to our non-engagement declared. We have officially declared this, and in a letter I presented to Secretary General yesterday, it was stated that these planes would remain in Iran, the planes and its crews, until the war is over.
Are there any circumstances under which these planes would be released to go back into combat?
After the war.
But
not
only
during
after
the war. Yes.
Could you comment for us on Iraq's attacks on Israel, and should Israel respond with the attacks on Iraq, would that be enough to reconsider the situation with these airplanes?
We basically think that although a struggle against Israel and liberation of Palestine is one of the cornerstones of our foreign policy, but still we believe that liberation of Palestine does not justify occupation of Kuwait. So the first thing to be done on behalf of Iraq is to withdraw from Kuwait.
I want to make sure I understand, Mr. Ambassador. Even if Israel should respond with an attack on Iraq, these airplanes would remain grounded in Iran.
We are against the spread of this war, and we urge Iraqis to withdraw from Kuwait. We believe that this war is not a war between believers and infidels. We believe that this war is a matter of power and domination. And that's why we have condemned Iraqis because of invasion of Kuwait, and in the same time because we believe that Americans' presence in that region is something far beyond liberation of Kuwait. We have been against the presence of Americans, and that's why we have taken this stance as a non-engagement stance, and we will keep this stance.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
The Iranian ambassador to the United Nations. Now, in order to help us sort out what is going on generally here, we want to interview United States Senator Sam Nunn of Georgia. That'll be coming up next, so stay here with us.
Some things are more important to your peace of mind than you realize, like knowing how to maintain regularity without drugs or medication. But do you know nutrition experts recommend increasing your dietary fiber intake as a drug-free way to promote regularity? And did you know that All Bran, as part of a balanced diet, is a very high source of dietary fiber? A high-fiber diet, including Kellogg's All Bran. It can be a drug-free way to maintain regularity.
This is the sound of Unisom, the sound of sleep. With Unisom, you hit your pillow and fall asleep fast. Tonight, you can sleep more soundly with Unisom, America's #1 sleep aid.
Now's the time for Centrum Silver, because you're over 50 and you're out there swinging. Centrum Silver, a complete vitamin formula for your changing nutritional needs. Centrum Silver, it's a great time to be silver.
When 1 in 4 adults looks at dairy food, their stomach says stop, say no now, or pay later. Antacids aren't made for this problem, called lactose intolerance. But new Dairy Ease is. It's not an antacid, but a natural nutritional supplement that helps comfortable digestion of ice cream, cheese, and milk. Now enjoy dairy food as naturally as everyone else with pleasant-tasting, chewable new Dairy Ease.
One of the most influential members of the United States Congress who will be listening to President Bush's State of the Union speech tonight is the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Democrat Sam Nunn of Georgia. Senator Nunn has largely kept his silence about President Bush's war policy since the fighting started. He breaks that silence now as he joins us from Washington. Senator, forgive the error there. Everybody knows you are a senator from Georgia, not Jordan. You just heard the ambassador to the United Nations from Iran say that the Iraqi planes will remain in Iran until the end of the war. You accept that as conclusive and final?
Well, I think we still have to keep a watchful eye, and I'm sure our military will, but I see this as more positive than negative. We have to worry about the Iranian intentions because I think from the very beginning they want big Satan, which is the United States, to get rid of their chief enemy in Iraq, and then we may have some problems from them. But overall, I think it's positive because these planes are going to be essentially out of the war. And I believe even if Israel defends themselves by responding, I do not believe we'll see these planes get back into the war, but we have to watch them.
Senator, I heard a number of people on the street today just musing and saying, wow, if Iran and the Soviet Union suddenly got in and began helping Iraq, we'd be in deep trouble. First of all, any real possibility of that happening? And two, what about the assessment that we could be in real trouble with that?
I don't think that's going to happen. I believe the Soviets are going to stick basically to their policy. They may urge us to be more restrained. They may urge some kind of ceasefire or something of that nature, but I do not think they'll break the coalition. I think the Iranians may help supply with food and other materials across the border from time to time, but I don't think they're going to get directly involved in this. The plan so far, I believe, has been well executed and well carried out. I think the main thing we need now is patience. We've got darn good military people out there in the field. I think President Bush is giving them the kind of latitude they need, and I think back home we need to be patient and understand that this is not Grenada, it's not Panama, and it's going to take some time, but neither is it Vietnam. It's not going to take years.
Senator, personal opinion. Do you think the Allies will go beyond the liberation of Kuwait and make what some have said is President Bush's intention of a transition of the mission, or will it be confined to liberation of Kuwait?
I think President Bush is correct so far to keep to the original war aims and to stick to the United Nations mandate. Anytime you start going beyond that, you have to ask yourself, are you willing to occupy the country of Iraq? Now, if we're going to do that, we ought to be very clear about it, and we ought to have a military strategy that matches that political aim. Right now, I don't think that's the military strategy, and I don't think our troops in the field have been charged with that responsibility. So I'd urge some caution here, and I think President Bush is on the right trail.
Senator Sam Nunn of Georgia, thank you very much.
Thank you.
In just a minute, more on the war and some other news of the day, so stay here with us.
Knows all about space vehicles. He directed me to the new Oldsmobile Silhouette. Its looks are stellar, and the interior is perfect for the enterprising family. The modular seats pull out easily. There's a place for everything. Compared to other forms of space travel, Silhouette is the logical choice. Right, Dad?
Eminently logical.
This is the new
Silhouette. Travel in space and style.
generation of Olds.
This is what healthy gums look like. Your bleeding gums look like this.
But they only bleed occasionally.
It's a bacterial infection. Untreated, it could spread deeper.
Oh, no.
Don't worry. We can stop bleeding gums. First, we'll clean your teeth. Then, at home, as part of daily home care, I can give you medicine.
My gums stop bleeding.
Ask your dentist about the home care treatment for bleeding gums. Oral Health Pharmaceuticals from Procter & Gamble.
How fast does Dristan nasal spray start working to clear up congestion?
Wow, this Dristan sure starts to work fast.
Dristan nasal spray starts to work in seconds.
Sweetheart, I've got 2 surprises. Honey Nut Cheerios is made with nutritious whole grain oats, and I wrecked the car.
What? Whole grain oats? Wow.
Honey Nut Cheerios, surprisingly nutritious.
I'm gonna go buy some more. Taxi?
Coma is one of the leading causes of blindness. For blacks, the chances of getting the disease are even higher. Find out what you can do to protect yourself tonight on Health Beat.
A new front opened today in a different kind of war, fought far from the Persian Gulf. It's the war against cancer. Researchers used genetically altered cells to treat 2 people in advanced stages of melanoma. That's the so-called black mole cancer. Medical correspondent Susan Spencer explains the significance of that.
This morning, gene therapy, high-tech medicine's hope for the future, took aim at one of the country's leading killers.
This represents the first attempts to use gene therapy to treat patients with cancer.
Doctors at the National Cancer Institute took immune cells from the tumors of 2 patients, a man and a woman, both suffering deadly forms of skin cancer. Using genetic engineering techniques, they then put in a gene to prompt the cells to make TNF, a powerful tumor-killing hormone. Those cells were copied, and then, armed for the fight, 100 million of them were given back to the patients this morning. If it all works, the patient's own altered cells will target and kill the tumor.
Biologic therapy is not a direct attack upon the cancer, but rather an attempt to improve the patient's own natural defenses so the body itself can reject the cancer.
1 million Americans will be diagnosed with cancer this year, and despite chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery, half of them will die. But although eager for a new weapon in the fight, doctors urged caution about this one.
It has a lot of potential. It'll be years before we figure out how to use that potential to its utmost, but it's very exciting technology.
If after several months gene therapy appears to be working in these 2 patients, the treatment will be expanded to include 50 more. Doctors keeping their fingers crossed that someday, today will be seen as the start of a new era in the treatment of cancer. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
A judge in Redwood City, California today sentenced George Franklin Sr. to life in prison for the 1969 murder of an 8-year-old girl. The case was reopened 20 years later when Franklin's daughter said she suddenly remembered seeing the crime. The 51-year-old Franklin will be eligible for parole in 7 years. A new warning tonight from the Congressional Budget Office about the Federal Bank Deposit Insurance Fund being on the brink. The Budget Office says the Deposit Insurance Fund for commercial banks will be broke by later this year and may require a massive taxpayer bailout. This would be on top of the one already costing taxpayers billions to bail out ruined savings and loans. The Commerce Department today reported that factory orders for durable goods jumped a healthy 4.4% in December. The report said that strong demand for military and transportation equipment spurred this rise. But for all of 1990, durable goods orders were down 1.6%, the first annual decline since the 1982 recession.
A cup of that coffee, please.
You know, it's going to be a nice day for the parade.
You know, even the coffee tasted somehow better back then. I guess that's why those Maxwell House folks slow roast their 1892 coffee. Didn't even change the way they used to make it. Introducing Maxwell House 1892 coffee, made with old-fashioned pride, the way things used to be.
Introducing a new idea in air freshening, Glade Country Pottery.
Put out the pottery, put it here, put it there.
Simple, handmade pieces of glazed pottery.
Put it everywhere, put out the pottery. Put the fresh country air anywhere.
The porous clay releases the light, fresh scent for 30 days.
Just put out the pottery, put the fresh country air everywhere.
Put out the pottery, new Glade Country Pottery.
When sore muscles or minor arthritis pain hold you back, you need strong medicine. Ben Gay with not just one, but 2 pain relievers. Warming power for fast relief. Helps get you going again. Ben Gay, fast, strong medicine for pain relief.
If your doctor has recommended Metamucil and you like the results, but you don't like those glasses of thick liquid, change to FiberCon. Get the same fiber action in easy-to-swallow tablets. Get doctor-recommended FiberCon.
You don't have to leave the home front to learn that war teaches hard lessons. And because some United States Marines go an extra mile in doing something for their country, a group of school children is learning the hardest lesson of all, maybe saying goodbye. Bruce Morton reports.
Lance Corporal Yvonne Bennett works in disbursement at this Marine base in Washington's Virginia suburbs. Captain Ed Nelson's in supply. Staff Sergeant Anita Waddell runs the base store. And Colonel C.C. Johnson's the XO, executive officer.
How you doing, Marine?
Lots of salutes. That's what they do, except one morning each week.
Sound it out.
Benefit.
Mm-hmm.
9. Isn't that 9?
That is super nice. Put your name on it and be proud of it.
Everybody, the teachers, the kids, and the Marines, say this program, Marines tutoring children in one suburban elementary school, works.
The child oftentimes maybe wants to please the Marine because we have been so familiar there over the years that they might do a better job of making that little extra effort.
But now there is a problem. The children worry that their tutors will be sent to war. Thomas Prudencio's tutor has already left for the Gulf.
When my teacher told me, I felt sad.
Mark Johnson worries about his colonel tutor.
If my Marine buddy goes there to Saudi Arabia, I would be worried about him.
How do you mean?
Like getting killed in the war.
Jalen Baker worries about Sergeant Waddell.
They might be held hostages, and then they could be used as human shields.
Ron Shell Brundage worries about her captain.
We try to reassure them that, that we might go, but there'll always be somebody to come back around and pick up where I left off.
They're attached to the special attention they get, and they're fearful that somehow that will be changed, or that their Marine will actually be harmed during the war, or just taken away from them, and they don't want that to happen.
Lay up! Face!
1, 2.
Sergeant Major Morris is drilling the school safety patrol. They hope for the first time to march in the area-wide safety patrol parade.
Remember,
and confident looking and worried.
I want him to go.
And step! The marks of war in one small place. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Arlington, Virginia.
San Diego is home to a lot of troops, especially Navymen and Marines, now serving in the Persian Gulf, and so it figures San Diego would be home to what sponsors call the world's largest human flag. Some 3,500 volunteers showed their solidarity with American forces and the families of servicemen today by donning donated red, white, and blue T-shirts and forming a flag the size of a football field at Jack Murphy Stadium.
Has a minty mouthwash ingredient in every tablet. Other cleansers may get dentures clean, but Polident gets the minty fresh clean. Super strength, super minty, Polident.
What do professionals do when they get a clogged sink, a stopped-up shower, a backed-up tub? They just pour in the power. The professional power of professional strength liquid Drano with 3 active ingredients. The power it takes to clear really tough clogs. Professionals use the professional liquid, and now you can too. Pour in the power. New professional strength liquid Drano.
I've had it up to here with antacid taste.
Then get great flavor up to here with extra strength Malox Plus Cherry Cream. Up to here with mint cream. Up to here with lemon Swiss cream.
Malox, you're the best.
It's the strongest, best tasting antacid.
Hi.
Was I scared?
Well, what'd the doctor say?
He said my hemorrhoids aren't that serious.
Yeah?
That I don't need surgery.
That's great.
He said to eat right and exercise, and for flare-ups, use Preparation H.
It's terrific.
Yeah.
Thousands of doctors distribute this care guide. It advises a fiber-rich diet, exercise, and to help relieve hemorrhoidal symptoms, try Preparation H.
I feel so much better.
You think you feel better.
Preparation H in ointment and suppositories.
This is CBS.
Good evening, I'm Vicki Yates.
And I'm Chris